Quick disclaimer, information in this podcast is for general informational purposes only and is not intended to be treated as medical advice. Always consult with your healthcare team before making changes to your diet, lifestyle, supplementation, or medication.
A big shout out to Gail, Joe, Sandra, Rena, Habari, Helen, Lee, and Lacey for today's thoughtful questions. Whether you're newly diagnosed or years into your journey, today's episode will help you make sense of real blood sugar issues and feel more confident navigating those daily decisions.
Welcome to Type 2 Diabetes Talk, the place where we chat about what really works to treat type 2 diabetes and prediabetes naturally with nutrition and lifestyle. If you're looking to optimize blood sugar and A1C, lose weight, reduce medications, and improve your overall health, this is the place to be. Now, here's your host, Type 2 Diabetes Nutrition Specialist, Dr. Jetta.
Hello, wonderful people, and welcome to another Q&A episode of Type 2 Diabetes Talk, where we answer your real-life questions about managing blood sugar, food, insulin resistance, natural alternatives, and many other things. Today, we're diving into some important and sometimes emotional questions. We'll talk about whether sugar-free cordial is okay now and then, how to test blood sugar after fruit, and what it means when your numbers don't come down even hours after eating. You'll hear about constipation, intermittent fasting, fasting sugar versus A1C, what to do if you can't tolerate Metformin, and how one listener is working through the fear that comes with a new diagnosis. This episode is full of practical advice and clear direction. And if you've been feeling stuck or overwhelmed, I think it's going to help you take a breath, feel more grounded, and see that there is always a path forward. And remember, if you've got a question you'd like answered in a future episode, just head to type2diabetestalk.com/message and leave me an email or a voice message. I'd love to hear from you. So let's get started on our first question, which comes from Gail, who said, I'm newly diagnosed and there's lots to learn. I love water, but I know I will need something different every now and again. Would low sugar cordial be okay to have here and there? Great question, Gail. You're certainly right, there is a lot to learn, and it's completely normal to want a bit of variety from just plain water, especially when you're adjusting to a new diagnosis. The answer is yes, low sugar or sugar-free cordials can be an option every now and again, especially if they help you stay hydrated and avoid high sugar drinks. Sugar-free cordials generally don't raise blood sugar, but the key thing to look at is the label and choose wisely. Sugar-free cordials are still sweet, and of course many use less desirable artificial sweeteners like aspartame, ACE-K or saccharin, while others use more suitable sweeteners such as stevia, monk fruit or allulose. We spoke about sweeteners in episode 49 for more about options, but the thing is, if you're only having it occasionally and it doesn't trigger more cravings or bloating, then it's perfectly fine. Just keep it in moderation. And you can also add variety with soda water or sparkling water and a splash of lemon, herbal teas or infused water with fresh mint or cucumber, for example. And these give flavour with zero impact. And also, just for some more information, check out episode 83 for more ideas on what to drink besides water. Joe asked, what is the best way to test blood sugar levels after eating fruit? Great question, Joe, and it's fantastic that you're thinking about testing strategically. And the best way to check how fruit or any other foods affect your blood sugar is to use timed testing. Here's how to do it. If you want to test the effects of a specific fruit or food, first eat the fruit by itself. Then set your timer for 2 hours from that first bite and test your blood sugar at that 2-hour mark. Why 2 hours? Because that's the standard window to assess how your body handles glucose from food. Ideally, you want your reading to be under 140 milligrams per decilitre or 7.8 millimoles per litre. Though some people aim for even lower targets, especially if you're living with prediabetes or you're trying to reverse insulin resistance or put your diabetes into remission. But at the very minimum, under 140 or 7.8 at that 2-hour mark. Track what type of fruit, how much you had, and what else you ate with it if you did eat other things with it. Now, some fruits may work better for you than others, and also here's a great tip. Pairing fruit with protein or fat, that can help blunt the blood sugar response. So for example, having your fruit with a bit of cheese or a few nuts. But the key is, eat, test at 2 hours, and look at your patterns over time. That's how you figure out what works best for your body. Sandra said, "My blood sugar levels never go down to 140 after meals. I eat mostly coffee, 2 crackers and cheese or plain crackers. 4 hours after eating, it doesn't budge, even after meds." Thanks for sharing that, Sandra, and I hear the frustration in your message. When blood sugar stays elevated for hours, even after small meals and medication, it's a strong sign that you're eating foods that are elevating blood sugar and that insulin resistance is playing a big role. Crackers, even plain or whole grain ones, are still high in refined carbohydrates, and unfortunately, they can cause prolonged spikes in many people with insulin resistance. So even just 2 can be enough to keep blood sugar elevated for hours depending on what type of crackers they are, especially if your body's insulin isn't working efficiently. Caffeine, well, that can affect blood sugar levels in some people, causing blood sugar to rise or stay elevated, even without any sugar added. But also, people frequently have coffee sweetened or with high-carb milks or syrups and creamers, so that's something to look at. If I were you, I'd change things up and see what happens. Swap out the crackers for a lower carb option like sliced cucumber, a boiled egg, or even cheese with olives or nuts. Foods that won't cause a big glucose rise. Try eating more nutrient-dense foods, quality protein and fibre-rich vegetables, then test to see what happens with your blood sugar. Make sure the coffee isn't sweetened for start, and even milks like oat milk and others that people think are healthy can be loaded with sugar and carbs. And if it's not, then cut out the coffee and drink water for a while just to test what happens. And since it sounds like you're on meds, it's a good idea to track patterns over several days and bring those to your next medical doctor's appointment, because it may be time to reassess your medications, and there are some medications that can raise blood sugar too. So start with those tips, see how you go. Your blood sugar certainly can improve, but you'll likely need to make some changes to see those numbers coming down. Rena asked, "If you have insulin resistance, what should my blood sugar reading be? My A1C was 6.4 and my morning reading is 90 to 115 and 100 to 190 after meals." Thanks for your question, Rena. First, an A1C of 6.4% puts you right on the edge of type 2 diabetes. So now is a really important time to take action to bring that number down. Let's talk about blood sugar targets. People with insulin resistance, most research and clinical guidelines suggest aiming for fasting blood sugar between 70 to 99 milligrams per decilitre, which is 4 to 5.5 millimoles per litre, or up to 6.0 millimoles per litre in some locations. So it depends where you live. These can be a little bit different for the fasting blood sugar levels. But the point is, this is considered the normal range. So we want to be aiming for the normal range for fasting blood sugar. For 2-hour post-meal blood sugar, that's your postprandial number, ideally under 140 or 7.8. And some people even aim for under 110 or 120, which is 6.1 to 6.7. if they're working on reversing insulin resistance or prediabetes, because those tighter post-meal ranges can help you to get the target A1C level lower. So based on what you shared, your morning readings of 90 to 115 milligrams per decilitre, which is 5.0 to 6.4 millimoles per litre, are a bit above ideal some days, which may indicate some early morning insulin resistance, also known as the dawn effect, which we spoke about in episode 38. Your post-meal readings of 100 to 190 milligrams per decilitre, which is 5.6 to 10.6 millimoles per litre, show a wide range. And some are within target. Others, up to 190, that's well above the target range. And this tells us your blood sugar response is likely tied to what and how much you're eating, especially carbohydrates. So I'd suggest tracking your meals alongside your readings for a week, and that can give you some valuable insight. And you'll start to see patterns, what raises your blood sugar and what keeps it stable. And just remember, insulin resistance is reversible. You're currently in the pre-diabetes range. Pre-diabetes is reversible. You're not stuck with these numbers, so with targeted food changes, activity, sleep, stress management, and the right supplements, you can improve your A1C and daily blood sugar levels over time.
Dr. Jetta's T2 diet program isn't just based on research, it is the research. The only online nutrition program worldwide proven in a gold standard randomized controlled trial to lower blood sugar and A1C, reduce weight, and decrease medications. Stop guessing and start progressing. Join the only program backed by world-leading science and proven to help you get the best results. Visit type2diabetestalk.com/programs.
Habari asked, can intermittent fasting cause or worsen constipation? This is a great question, Habari, and yes, intermittent fasting can cause or worsen constipation for some people. The reason for this is that when you're eating less frequently, you're also likely eating less food overall and less fibre, which means less bulk moving through the digestive system. So this can really slow down digestion in some people, especially at first. Plus, some people unintentionally reduce their fluid intake, which can slow things down even more. And of course, changes to your eating rhythm can throw off your body's natural digestive routine as well. So if you want to stay with the intermittent fasting, make sure you stay hydrated throughout the day, not just during your eating window. Include fibre-rich, low-carb foods like chia seeds, leafy greens and non-starchy veg. And you could also consider a magnesium citrate or magnesium glycinate supplement if you needed to gently support regularity. And we'll leave more info about that on our website. Helen said, I was just recently diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. Since then, I've made big changes. Cleaned up my diet and laced up my shoes, she says. I've started running again. I'm 49, about to turn 50. But if I'm being honest, I'm scared, really scared. The complications, the food restrictions, the fear. It's been hard not to spiral. I keep thinking things like, am I going to lose control of this? Will I ever be able to enjoy food again? Pizza, a burger, something sweet. Will I end up sick or worse? Is this going to take years off my life? I try to stay focused on the day in front of me, but the future feels overwhelming. I'm not sure what to do. Please tell me it gets better. Helen, thank you for your honesty in sharing. What you're feeling is incredibly valid, and you're certainly not alone. That fear, so many people feel it in those early days, and you've expressed it so very well, all of the things that come up for people. So again, thank you for sharing that. Of course, a diagnosis can feel like your future has just been rewritten. But here's the truth. It doesn't have to be so morbid. And I do assure you that things do get better and easier. So you've already taken massive steps. You've cleaned up your diet, you're running again. That right there, that's what it looks like to be proactive, to take control, not just of the diabetes, but of your future. Yes, type 2 diabetes is serious, but it's also one of the most manageable and even reversible health conditions when approached with the right strategies. Thousands of people, no matter what age, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s and beyond, have lowered their blood sugar, reduced or stopped meds and are living full, healthy lives. You certainly can too. You only have to listen to some previous episodes to be inspired by other stories. Wilma in episodes 7 and 36, Dean in episode 31, and others in episodes 25. A diabetes diagnosis is not the end of the world, although it can feel like that at first. Will you ever eat pizza again, a burger, something sweet? Yes, with the right knowledge and balance, you can still enjoy food. It's not about punishment or deprivation, it's about making informed choices most of the time and knowing how to enjoy the occasional indulgence without spiralling. As for losing control, no, you're not powerless. This diagnosis can actually be the turning point that leads you to a stronger, healthier version of yourself, physically, emotionally, and mentally. And for many people, many of our members, that's exactly what happens, and it often leads them to better health than they've had in many years. So yes, it certainly does get better, much better, one step at a time. And you've already started, and I promise you're not alone on this road. So make sure you listen to all the podcast episodes, and if you need more help and support, please do consider joining us as a member, where we'll be with you every step of the way. And on that note, before we move on to our next question, let's hear a testimonial from one of our members.
Justin said, "Before I found the T2 diet program, I was struggling to control my levels and weight and was really confused with what to actually eat. The program helped me lose 4 kilos, which is 9 pounds, and drop my A1C by 0.6%. The recipes are that good that my whole family enjoy them as well. My next goal is dropping Metformin medication, which could be possible soon according to my GP. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to achieve this."
Lee asked, "Why is my fasting sugar in the pre-diabetes range, but my A1C is normal? Which one is final?" This is a great question, Lee, and this is actually a really common source of confusion, some of which we covered in episode 86 on diagnostic criteria. The short answer is that neither test is more final than the other. They are just measuring different things. Fasting blood sugar tells you what's happening in that moment after not eating for at least 8 hours. It's very sensitive to things like stress, sleep, or even late night eating, but it's also sensitive to liver insulin resistance and hormones. A fasting result between 100 and 125 or 5.6 to 6.9 falls in the prediabetes range. A1C, on the other hand, is a 3-month average of your blood sugar levels. If your A1C is under 5.7%, that's considered normal. In some locations, that normal is up to 6.0. Yes, a bit confusing, but that's the way it is, so worth mentioning. But how can one measure be elevated and the other not? Well, if your fasting sugar is consistently high, but your A1C is normal, it often means your blood sugar is spiking mostly in the morning, possibly due to that early insulin resistance in the liver or the dawn effect, which happens in response to hormones. But it's not staying elevated throughout the day. That's still a red flag. Diabetes doesn't just appear, it happens on a spectrum, and if fasting blood sugars are higher than normal, it means that maybe you're on that spectrum and that it's worthwhile to take action now to prevent further progression. So rather than asking which number is final, a better question is, what is this telling me? And what it's telling you is your metabolism is starting to struggle, and this is your chance to turn things around before your A1C starts creeping up too. Our last question of today comes from Lacey, who asked, what is the alternative if I can't tolerate metformin? Awesome question there, Lacey. Metformin is the most commonly prescribed medication in both prediabetes and type 2 diabetes. But one of the downsides is the nausea and the gastrointestinal effects that some people just cannot tolerate at all. So while you could speak to your doctor about other medications, the good news is there are natural alternatives that can be just as effective for many people. One of the best studied options is berberine, a plant compound that's been in multiple clinical trials shown to work similarly to metformin. And in fact, clinical trials have compared berberine to metformin, and it's lowered blood sugar and A1C levels more than metformin. So it really is a powerful natural therapeutic. And for most people, it doesn't come with those same awful gastrointestinal side effects, especially when you take it with meals. So we've discussed berberine in detail in episode 21, and we'll also include some more info in the show notes alongside this episode, so you can head to our website to find out more about recommended dosages, etc. There are also other supportive nutrients that can help improve blood sugar naturally, but berberine is by far one of the most potent when compared to metformin. So start there and see how you go. That's it for our Q&A today. As always, the questions you send in help so many others who are going through similar experiences or are helpful to inspire and motivate others too. So thank you to everyone who shared. If you have a question, don't be shy. Please send it in. Head to type2diabetestalk.com/message and leave me an email or voice message so we can include your question in a future Q&A. And please, if you listen to the podcast and you love listening to the episodes, head to your favourite platform, whether that be Apple, Spotify, or to our website, and please leave us a 5-star rating and review. Remember, what matters most is not how fast you go, but that you keep going. You're learning, growing, and creating better health one step at a time. Until next week, Dr. Jetta, over and out.
Thanks for tuning in to Type 2 Diabetes Talk. Please subscribe to the show on your favorite podcast platform. And for episode replays, episode notes, and more, visit type2diabetestalk.com. New episodes are available Tuesdays, 10 a.m. US Eastern Time, or your time zone equivalent. Thanks again. We're truly grateful to be a part of your life and help make a real difference.